For 40 years, some of the sharpest academic minds in the world looked at the exact same piece of evidence and completely missed the truth.
They weren't unintelligent. In fact, they held advanced degrees from elite institutions and ran prestigious departments. Yet they fell head over heels for an object that should have raised immediate, blaring alarms.
The object in question was a fragile, discolored, medieval map, purportedly drawn sometime in the mid-15th century.
Its defining feature was a stunning cartographic claim, a detailed landmass labeled Vinland, situated safely west of Greenland.
If authentic, it proved beyond a doubt that Norse explorers reached the shores of North America long before Columbus ever set sail. It was immediately dubbed the Vinland Map, and for a brief, glorious moment it rewrote the history books.
The year was 1965, and Yale University Press was preparing to drop this academic bombshell on the world. The timing was exquisite, coinciding precisely with the publication of a heavily researched scholarly book backing its authenticity. The map had arrived at Yale through a dealer under mysterious, almost cinematic circumstances.
A Swiss book dealer claimed he bought it from a private collection, though the exact provenance was wonderfully hazy.
An anonymous donor quietly purchased the artifact for $250,000 and gifted it to Yale. When an Ivy League institution accepts a gift of that magnitude, the psychological die is already cast.
The press went wild. Headlines trumpeted the rewriting of American discovery.
Curators looked at the wormholes in the parchment and the faded brown ink and saw genuine medieval craftsmanship. After all, the wormholes matched a known 15th century manuscript. Surely nobody could fake that. And here is the part that modern retellings often gloss over. Early tests did show genuine age in the parchment itself, appreciating the villain's craft to use a real, blank, medieval manuscript page, shearing out an unwritten leaf from an old book. The parchment was genuinely ancient. But parchment is only half the equation when you are evaluating a map.
The ink, however, was a different story entirely. One that experts conveniently ignored for decades. Dissenting voices appeared almost immediately, but they were largely drowned out by the institutional roar of approval. Some cartographic historians noted that Greenland looked entirely too accurate, drawn with modern coastline data unknown to medieval sailors. Others pointed out linguistic oddities in the Latin inscriptions. But institutional inertia is a remarkably heavy anchor.
It took until 1974 for science to finally catch up to the skepticism. Researchers at Chicago's Illinois Institute of Technology put the ink under a high-magnification electron microprobe.
What they found inside the ink lines completely shattered the fairy tale.
The ink contained high levels of titanium dioxide, specifically a synthetic compound manufactured commercially only after 1920. It was modern 20th century ink laid down on an old piece of scrap parchment to mimic antiquity.
Yale's priceless medieval treasure was a clever 20th century hoax.
Before we look at why smart people fell for this, comment below, what piece of modern news would you desperately want to believe? even if it turned out to be fake.
The Vinland map teaches us a masterclass in confirmation bias and the mechanics of human belief. When an artifact aligns perfectly with what an institution desperately wants to be true, the internal threshold for skepticism drops to zero. Peer validation replaces empirical testing. If everyone in your intellectual circle agrees it is real, questioning it feels like social treason.
People didn't see the titanium dioxide because they weren't looking for it. They were looking for proof that they were right.
Exhausted by human nature proved the fraud. Debates raged for decades among stubborn true believers. Some argued the titanium was a natural weathering artifact, anything to avoid admitting they had been duped.
It is a humbling reminder that expertise is no match for desire.
We see what we want to see, especially when the story flatters our sense of history.
If you enjoyed this deep dive into historical self-deception, hit subscribe and ring the bell for more stories about what happens when belief outruns evidence.